Hey everyone, it's Angela here and I hope you're doing well. I wanted to take this video today and talk about something I have never talked about on my page. I am going through all the kinds of jobs that I did, and in a former life, I used to be what was called a business operations consultant. I was called an assistant manager, a shift manager, store manager, any other kind of manager. But I really was a consultant. I was working as a consultant, to decide if stores are being run properly or not. So one thing, I worked for a couple or a few big corporations where I had one district manager who would say, hey, I'd like to work with you. I would like for you to train, act like you're coming in as a new employee. We're going to move you up the ladder as fast as we can. And then we're going to do other things, So one thing you got to learn is that when you work for a corporation and you're in part of the management team, you have a budget. Your store every year is given a budget. You have to stay within those parameters set in that budget. You want to make sure your store is making money. Why? Because businesses are in business to do what? Make money. So here we go. Let's say here is a store that I'm sent to. I am usually told by the district manager, well, we're going to have you look at all our stores, depending on what you're doing. It was usually retail. I always start off in blind visits. Otherwise, as a mystery shopper, I would go in there. I look at things that the consumer would look at and say what affects my spending habits in that location. They're just like, this place isn't turning a profit like I should. And one of the things, it seems for a while, that a lot of corporations would build in a certain area thinking that it will bring a lot of business. However, in Chicago, where I used to live, I saw businesses in great locations. However, there was very little street parking. So, the fact that people couldn't park either in a parking lot or around there, no, there's very little. A lot of people, maybe if they were on the bus and there was a bus stop right outside of the store, they'd come in, look for a thing, but then they don't buy anything. They run out because their buses arrived. And, so yeah, it was more, if I want to stay warm for a while, I'm going to go in that store, I'm going to look around, and then when my bus comes, I'm going to run out after it. So basically, that's what the business was. And yes, they had to shut that business down simply because the foot traffic was not what it should have been. The store was being managed really well. Financials were pretty good, but they were at the same budget for a number of years. So if costs start going up, inflation happens, things like that, they weren't turning a profit. They noticed that, and they weren't able to stay open in a local area. So that's one thing that affects a business. However, there are businesses that I've seen something like this. It's not one of my pictures. I got it from one of those websites. I was looking. I remember evaluating a grocery store like this for a mom and pop's business. Very nice. Their shelves, the whole store looked like this. They were moderate traffic. I was there, I think, in the early afternoon, between 11:30, 12 o'clock. Lunch, people were coming in, buying their lunch and stuff like that. But it was like, man, the shelves, there were products leaving the shelves, but right shortly after there, it's kind of like they had an employee watching that area, knowing where it was high traffic, that after everyone left, they're busy restocking. So it was really good what they were doing. And yes, that business has turned a lot of profit. One thing I knew about this store, they pay their employees a lot more than they would in the regular place. The reason why they gave them good raises is because they did reject a workers' union. They did not have the revenue to have to bear those extra costs and demands, and they had to make it more of like, if there's anything they want to change, they want the employees to act as shareholders, and they were shareholders in the business, and they got to vote on new things. So hey, there were a lot of perks. Not only did they get stock options, not only did they get their raises, but the fact that they had great leadership, they took a lot of pride in their job. And they went the extra mile to make sure the shelves looked like this. Okay, now when you go to a store opening, you'll see the shelves stocked like that, real nice, real good. But then it's like all of a sudden, you see it's just it gets busy, but they always had someone there. It's like they knew how to work their people and operate the business in a way that, man, they had their aces in their places, and it was consistent. It's not just during busy times, but it was like that. Very good. I knew people who have retired from working at a grocery store, moms and pops, making more than like the average. They would make as much as a manager or even more. Their retirement went for a long time, and they were prosperous, no financial complaints, but their future was secure, even if they were just scanning groceries and doing little things. So don't look down at anyone you see as a cashier. When you see someone who really enjoys their job, there's a reason why, and they stay around for a very long time. It's because they're being compensated really well, and it's a form of appreciation for their many years of service. Now, I'm going to show you a completely different picture. It is an AI generated picture because I have gone to many stores that are represented. They are your discount retailers where like you would go to, oh, well, I want to look at little craft items, or I might want to get something to decorate my house, and oh, there's a shirt that I was looking, or a purse I wanted to buy, and it was a retail store, but you go in and it looks like that. Do you think that a business or a store you go into that has piles like this, I mean, this is an exaggeration because it's AI generated, but when you see this pile of clothes, and you've probably seen it a couple times, like I would go do multiple blind visits at a certain business before I would even work there or anything. Sometimes it was just that blind visit, and you're constantly seeing piles of mess. We got to look at some things. What we always did was we looked at management and the crew. We would make sure that we would sit these people down and educate them. Now, and this is because I would see some things. I would go into my favorite big box store and see stuff on the floor. You got an employee with the name tag on, walking right past it like nothing, and they just leave it there. They totally ignore it. And when we would have these team meetings, we would see people, and I would be very honest with them. You're walking past merchandise, and that's money being thrown away. Because you know what's going to happen? Someone's probably going to kick it. Someone's probably going to step on it. Someone could trip and fall on it. And that hurts your insurance rates. And yeah, you may have to raise prices because you have to pay for that extra large bill. Yeah, and all this money here. One time I walked into a company. I won't say which one it is. But I was looking. I saw a really nice shirt. And I couldn't find it on the hanger, hanging just like everything, on the rack. Instead, I looked down on the floor. I saw it. Oh my gosh, to have it my size. I picked it up off the floor. And I wanted to open it to look at it. when all of a sudden I had a little trouble. I had to, like, kind of pull on it to get it to open. The reason being is that there was a little red lollipop half eaten, and some kid wrapped their lollipop in that shirt and threw it on the floor. Yeah, and by the way, I saw a bunch of people's kids acting like zoo animals going under the racks, and they were knocking clothes down, and they would just leave them there or run away, and there would be a whole trail of scarves or something following them through the store. Meanwhile, employees are probably stomping on that same scarf or those scarves, just basically like, whatever. Hey, that's your raise right there. Here's your raise on the floor right here. Why? Because of the fact that a lot of these clothes are usually damaged by the time someone eventually gets to look at them. And what may happen is either you throw a clearance sticker on it because, like, we can't really sell it. We got to sell it as is. No returns, no exchange, no refunds, none of that. What you got to do is we're gonna sell it to you for $3, which is probably about $5 to $6 below cost, and you're basically paying people money to get that stuff out of your store or whatever. And when you look at all this here, I see thousands and thousands of dollars on the floor. There goes your raises. Here's your profit. It's all in that pile right there, or on that table where you can't even find what's on that table right here on the side. I see much more now than I ever have. In every store almost that I go to, and I relocated from Illinois to Florida, I would be like, management, employees, management, employees. One of the biggest things that I would say, because a lot of this happens, all this stuff, is you occasionally get some women who are just nasty and want to throw stuff on the floor because they just don't want to put it back. I mean, goodness, just hang it over the rack. If you don't want, they throw it on the floor. But the majority of this stuff is caused by people who do not control their children. Your kids are the reason, part of the reason why the prices are going up in the stores that you frequent. It's probably your children that are one of the drivers as to why prices are going up. Reason being, that store works under one budget rather than the umbrella of the corporation. See, because business isn't like that. That store has its own budget. So, of course, they leave a little room, but when they find that raising prices is not in the books, they just close the business down. Now, what happens, and I'm telling you, in the hood, and I've been to many stores in the hood, I still go to them, and now they're so disgusting to go to, and I hate it. The reason being is that all the stores in the hood and in other, I grew up in the hood, believe me, I know. I cannot believe it that the prices were higher around my neighborhood, which is still like the hood, than when I go to the, around the middle class areas. It's not perfect, because you've always got them spoiled little brats whose parents don't want to even correct them verbally because the kids go nuts. So they're still destroying the stores. A lot of kids are just plain spoiled here in Florida. But I'll leave that for another video. So anyways, you would find that in some areas, if the stores are messy, it's, the prices are higher simply because everything is being thrown away. And they're not making money, but they gotta find that money, because you know what? That profit is like something that is like a, It's like the profit, they're like, we're going to take our profit before we give you a raise. It's like basically you're paid on the performance. And if you're new at a place and you're not making money, it is because of reasons like this. There's money being thrown away every single day when you see this mess. When you leave carts or a whole pallet of merchandise in the middle of an aisle or blocking a shelf. I'll explain that later. But either way, you don't want to work in any place. If you go to interview and you see stuff all over the floor, you can't do that. Prices are higher, costs are higher, and no, you're not going to get that raise that you think you deserve. And a lot of times, push comes to shove. And what we would do is we always put, if you're on a special plan to make corrections, or you're almost right there to be closed out, to be shut down and taken out of a neighborhood, and then they're going to be talking about, oh my gosh, you're taking all these stores. You know what? A lot of stores are a lot of places are food deserts simply because of the waste and everything being thrown in the garbage. Stop leaving all the cold items on a warm shelf. If it's perishable or refrigerated or frozen, keep it where it's supposed to be. Okay? Because when you see that next milk or yogurt or something sitting on the shelf, they're getting warm, getting bacteria and all that. That's garbage. So what they're going to do is on the next case, we're going to raise those prices. I guarantee that if you start thinking about that stuff and stop making mess all through the store and leaving things just anywhere, guess what? I bet you the prices will start to stabilize. But if you're contributing to this, no, you're not going to make money. You better get out of that area. So, don't say I didn't warn anyone. Sorry. I'm being blunt. I'm being truthful. And there's so much more about this that you can learn. So let's talk soon. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.